Wait till he finds out what it's about.
For Ozzie and John, I promise it won't be a shake. They're a great question. For both of you guys, and Ozzie just mentioned player development a little bit and depth. And John, the faith you have in your coaching staff to develop players. Oz, the faith you have in your scouts. A couple of years ago, you cut the cord with Derek, Kelly, Greg, and Todd. A lot of people around here said it was widespread panic almost because they thought you were rebuilding. You've been able to maintain an unbelievable level of achievement since then with those player development scouting. Can you talk about the faith you have in that system you put together now when you got to make some tough calls?
Well, I would say it in two different ways. I think the key to any team's success year in and year out is the depth that they have on their football team. And that's what John and we discuss on a daily basis of the depth. And the depth.
Today, slow DSL turns life into a waiting game. But tomorrow, it's game on. Speed past old DSL with Xfinity Internet from Comcast. Xfinity delivers the fastest in-home Wi-Fi, so everyone can be online on all of their devices, all at the same time. Switch to Xfinity Internet for $24.99 a month for 6 months. Tomorrow could be awesome if you call 1-800-XFINITY today.
Is on one field and the veteran guys on the other field, and you know what, so therefore we didn't have to stay out there for 3 hours, but we had guys getting reps, and those reps I think paid dividends for us because I don't know how many reps Shockey Brown took during that time, but if we'd have just had a conventional practice, he wouldn't have got as many. So I think I realized and John realized the importance of depth, but John and his coaches and our staff, my personnel staff, we realized that the development of players is an ultimate thing that we have to do. Coach?
Yeah, I concur. Yeah, it's just the thing that we have here that's probably, I think it's pretty unique around the National Football League and this is something, Steve doesn't take much credit for anything. But what he has laid is an organizational structure where everybody works together, and there really aren't clear lines of demarcation between people. Scouts and coaches work together. Front office and coaches and scouts work together. Everybody's involved with one another, and it's not like we all are responsible for our areas, but we all seek help. I can walk into Vince Newsom's office at any time, just ask him what he thinks and how we're bringing along a player or something along those lines, and that's just huge for us. I know that all the scouts feel the same way. Ozzie and I do it all the time, but it's not just us two. It's not just Steve and Dick or Kevin. It's everybody throughout the whole organization is just interwoven together, and to me, that's the key to any success that we have.
Kevin? Steve, could you talk about the coaching job that John did this year, especially in terms of all the challenges that the team had to overcome?
Well, it goes back to all the coaches. I mean, we did have a lot of injuries, but they were marquee players, and we got Ray and Suggs back, quicker than we thought. If we didn't know we'd get him back at all. Masterful job, but I think that it's not a mosaic really. It's just every day he comes in and he talks with Ozzie and they make the right decisions, and it goes back to having those young players capable of stepping up. And what I commend John for is that he spends a lot of time one-on-one with these guys. So the 52nd guy on the roster is just as likely to be in a one-on-one meeting with John as Ray Lewis is. So from an organizational standpoint, John understands that those guys on the bottom 15, if you will, could be in at any given moment. And so he spends an inordinate amount of time with the guys, the second half of the roster, so that he understands them. He has a real one-on-one relationship with them. And when it comes time to put them in, he knows what their strengths and weaknesses are. You can't run a business by talking in front of a group. And John spends the majority of his time in one-on-one meetings, and I think it's the right way to run a business.
Yeah. Ozzie, when do you plan? Have you talked to Ed Reed yet? And do you kind of plan to address this situation?
No, not officially. But unofficially, we've had conversations. He's representing himself still. I don't know if he has an agent, but I think he wanted to let some time clear. And at that point, he and I'll sit down. And, I think he realizes there may be some other options out there, but I think if you watched him and watched his body language over the course of the last 8 to 10 days, we can use that to help make that relationship last a little bit longer.
Dan, first of all, congratulations to all four of you. And my question is for Steve and Dick, and that is brand. What does winning do to the brand? And conversely, how do you as businessmen on that side of this monetize this brand?
We're monetizing. That's our job. We monetize every year. I don't think, we've had shockingly little difference in tickets being renewed every year. It literally fluctuates, Stan, between 99.5% and 98.1% when we went, 5-11 or we made the playoffs. So it's not that big of a deal. Will sponsors be more inclined to get on us? Yeah, but it's not that big of a money-making operation. I think that it's really just about what you're delivering, the pride associated with the brand, and it does, and we should be able to monetize it. But when so much of our money comes from the national level, it doesn't make that much difference. We're not going to see a huge spike in revenue because we won a Super Bowl. All I know is that the softness of our of that potential is hardened now. I think that we'll see the less turnover. We'll see more teams, more companies signing up with us. I don't think it's going to make that much difference when it comes right down to it.
I think it helps the brand in the sense that it strengthens our brand. It deepens our legacy in this region and probably a little bit more around the country. That doesn't result in more dollars, but it makes us a more valuable franchise. People look at us in a different light. It's very difficult. We have won now 2 Super Bowls in 13 years. That is very difficult to do. New England's won 3 during that period. No one else has won more than 2. 2 other teams have won 2. So I think that really deepens our legacy. And I think you try to think about how many people in this region were watching that Super Bowl game and how many were children and how many will always remember that win and will forever be Ravens fans. And I think that's what I think is most important in terms of the win for us, is building our fan base, having more and more fans think highly of the Ravens as an organization. And that's something that will stick with us and live beyond this year.